All right, we are live, folks.
Okay.
Let me get my Chrome browser going with the nice little extension here
Yeah, I'm gonna get my extension going too.
so we can hear chat.
Now, what
Yep.
are all you fancy people using for your extension?
Huh?
Was that Michael?
I said, what are all you fancy people using for your extension? What extension is this?
It's a YouTube. What's it called?
YouTube Live
Taylor?
TTS.
Okay.
Yeah. And it does not work the Windows in my experience. Eventually, it's going to reread all the chat messages. And it's a mess. But there's also speech chat if
you can ever get it to work.
Good to know. Notifications.
All right. All right. Now, I will let you guys know, I don't know if we're still having the sound issue. My system audio made that chat come out a lot louder than you guys did on Zoom. So we may still be a lot lower in volume than... But it'll work for today. People can turn this out, and we can turn it up at post-production. But all right, let me get back to my Zoom window here. I have too many windows open. All right. So we're going to go over some news items, things coming up, that kind of thing. And then we'll have a little bit of an ad, and then talk about the Apple event. Is everybody ready?
Yep.
All right. Well, first off, welcome everybody on YouTube. Thanks for being with us, and we're going to start very shortly on our newest episode of the iACast. So we hope that you all enjoy the show. If you're in chat, please say hello, and we are excited to have you with us. So, all right. Man, that's multitasking, being on the show and in chat.
I mean, I'm
I
technically
know.
doing that too, so. And trying to have Final Cut export videos. It's a great time.
Oh boy, this will be a fun recording.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, right? It's a good thing Taylor's using an M1, or else like she'd be exporting a video and hello, what?
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because Final Cut decided it was gonna export after I got done editing this video. I'm like, don't export before the iACast. Oh well, it's doing it anyways.
Yeah, you never know.
No, I don't.
All right. Well, you never know when it's going to do that. Yeah. All right, folks, let's get started with today's episode. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the iACast. All right, I'm Michael Dowies, and today with me I have a new face. Well, I don't think you've been on the podcast before yet, have you, Michael? We have Michael Babcock.
I was once, actually. I forget exactly which episode.
Oh, that's right.
But yeah, it was a couple months ago.
Yeah, and so Michael's back with us, and he's part of our IA team, and so welcome, Michael. It's good to have you, and of course, Taylor.
Hello, everyone.
All right, so we are here with another episode today, and we kind of have our new format, and so we're going to start with some news topics and talk about what's been going on in the iACast network and all of our shows, and then kind of talk about some things coming up. So we we skipped last time that we usually have an episode because of it being the holiday. We had a U.S. holiday the day after the episode would have been recorded, so we decided to give everybody that time off. So, it was just, allowed people to spend time with families and that kind of stuff. So, but we're back, and we have quite a bit of content today. So, there was a small little event that happened, in California, like the name of the video, the name of the podcast, California Streaming Apple's event, that kind of happened, right? Was that a big deal, guys?
Nah, I don't know. It's debatable.
It was supposed to be.
Supposed to be.
Right,
I
it was
really
supposed
think
to
it
be.
was significant.
No.
No, kind of underwhelming, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was kind of surprising. Usually their events are pretty interesting, but this one was kind of underwhelming. But we'll get to that. But if you watch the iACast shows, iACast network shows, the next episode of Hands on Safety will be recorded in a week or so and come out beginning of next month on home security. So that will be exciting. So you might want to check out the Hands on Safety podcast. And, me and Taylor do Techopolis Live each week. Last week, what did we talk about? We talked about a lot of stuff, including...
We called it, let's see, we did Windows 365
We talked about the Apple event
and more. That was the title.
Yeah, so
Windows 11.
I tried to
Apple event
and
more.
I tried to install Windows 11 on Windows 365, and that did not go well. So
No, it didn't go well at all.
Then we talked about the Apple event, and we had some other things that we talked about. So,
Yep.
Then we talked about let's see. So we had that episode, and then we had Taylor had a lot of different streams, including a Final Cut Pro stream on her channel today.
I did.
So Taylor's Tech Talks has been very busy.
Oh. Geez, it's been understatement. It's been crazy around here. Lots of content coming out. Apparently, YouTube has decided that it's going to release 2 Tutorial Tuesdays, which is a new thing that I'm doing, where basically I do different tech tutorials every Tuesday at 7 a.m. Eastern. They're released, and apparently YouTube has had a mind of its own, and it's going to release 2 of them this week. So I guess that's fine. I guess not really what I wanted, but let's just let YouTube do its thing. So any tech tutorials and other things, that's kind of what I do on Taylor's Tech Talk. So if you like tech videos and you like tech topics, then you should subscribe to Taylor's Tech Talks, taylorstechtalks.com/YouTube.
Quick cut. I just want to let y'all know. I don't know what it is. Michael, you're showing up when you talk, but I think, Taylor, your audio is so low that it is not cutting in your video frame whenever you talk.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. Is there a way to turn up volume in Zoom?
No,
Michael,
Taylor,
do you know?
you're using original sound, aren't you?
Yes.
Huh.
But y'all told
Yeah.
me my levels were fine before the stream.
Yeah, they are. I can hear you just fine, but I think I understand what Michael's saying. You are kind of low.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But to be fair, Zoom isn't even getting a camera for me. I don't know if it's showing a picture.
It is showing your picture when you talk.
Oh, okay.
It's showing just your picture that you have on your Zoom account.
I forgot I set that up. Poor people.
So-
I'm so sorry. Oh.
No, you look fine. I'm trying to think, is there a way to
I didn't want to interrupt the podcast, but yeah.
is there
I
a
didn't
way
realize
to
I was low.
change audio levels in Zoom?
Under audio settings, if you go up to audio settings ... there is a microphone level in that audio settings tab. It's called the microphone input level, but I don't know if you can't adjust that. Never mind. I thought you could, but it's just showing me as I talk what my levels are. That's kind of cool. Huh.
How about now? Better? Anyone there?
What microphone? Can you tap your microphone? Yeah, that's
Yep.
it.
Is it better?
Move it closer to your mouth.
I'm really close to my mouth. If I was any closer, I would be eating.
There we go. Now Zoom's picking you up.
Okay.
But-
what?
What's your input level? You're on the Mac, aren't you?
Yeah,
What's your input levels on your in system prefs?
50%.
Try bringing it up to 75.
Hello?
That's better. Talk again?
Testing.
Yes, that's much better.
I didn't want to distort.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
Okay. I'm not gonna eat my microphone, Jason.
Yes,
No,
we're
no.
we're good to go now, though.
All right,
We're
are we
good
gonna
to go
do it
now,
3,
though.
2, 1?
Yeah, I'll count back in.
Okay.
All right, 3, 2, 1. And so, we've had everything on Taylor's Tech Talks. Michael, you have a podcast. You want to talk about what your podcast is and what you guys have been talking about?
Sure, I can give you a quick recap of what we've been talking about. What my podcast is I'm still trying to figure that out. No, so Demasi and I, a friend that I've had for several years now, decided one time we'd sit down and start recording some of the conversations we would have. And that turned into the DM series, which started out as Demasi and Michael just talking tech, but that was too much of a mouthful, so we changed the name over to the DM series. On September 14th, we published an episode called DM78, Say Yes to Answer. And in this episode, Demasi and I talked a little about how we're going to have a cross-platform lifestyle working with iOS and Android. Demasi taught me something about the AirPod Pros that I didn't know. We had a side conversation about time tracking and our thoughts on the Epic versus Apple ruling, and then we also shared a couple of our thoughts related to the Apple event, which I'm a little hesitant to go back and listen to that episode. I know one thing we wanted, but we did not get. We'll talk about that later.
So, but Jason Earls in chat has a different opinion, and he thinks that your
does.
podcast is about tacos.
It might, we might throw a taco here and there. Jason needs to go listen to our podcast because we talked about the tip, and I don't remember what it was in relation to, but I said Jason needs to hear this.
Well, we're glad that we have everybody that we have in chat. It's really awesome. And if you're listening to our podcast through a podcast application, we do live stream these on YouTube. So we encourage people to be in our chat and come hang out with us as we talk, about all these topics. So, pretty excited about all of this. So, we have all these podcasts, and we all like to promote our stuff on this show. So as new podcasts come on the network, we will be talking about the different topics that we have. So some interesting news. Microsoft has announced an announcement. They're going to talk about what's next for Surface on the 22nd. I'm really excited about this.
Me too.
And we'll see what we get. I'm kind of curious what Surface devices they're going to announce. Is there anything, Michael, that you're interested in that they may talk about?
Maybe a new Surface Book. So I have one of the Surface Books. I forget which one it is, but I really like the keyboard on it. And this Lenovo I'm using is a great workhorse, but the battery, not so much. So I'd like
No.
to see a new decent Surface Book that has a good battery, and I just like the keyboards on.
I agree. I used a Surface Book for a gaming computer, and it didn't do that great. But for a productivity machine, they are amazing. And I would love to see a Surface Book that can, keep up. If they put like I don't know, like one of the AMD chips in there, like that can run at the low power efficiency or the low power a lot of the newer Intel or AMD chips can run at. That would be pretty awesome. Because the Surface Book 2 that I had and the Surface Book 3 even ran, I think, about 15, maybe 20 watts. And so it was kind of, running an i9 core, i9, processor at low, or i7 at low settings is kind of pointless to have an i7 in there if you're doing that, And so I'm kind of hoping that they make it worth, people's time. They seem to be focusing on the Surface laptops and the Surface Go, though, because we haven't seen many Surface Pro upgrades, and, I don't know. I would like to just see them refresh the whole line.
Well, we will see on the 22nd.
Yep.
So, yeah, we're going to just have to see, and we'll see what they give us. And so it's all depending on what Microsoft has, and it's all in time, a week or so before the new version of Windows comes out, and Windows 11. And is there anything that has you both excited about Windows 11?
Just a quick correction. It's a week or so after the event, because the event, I think, is September 22nd, isn't it? Or
Yeah,
is it
I mean,
October?
Windows 11 is a week or so after the
Okay.
announcement.
Okay.
So yeah, is there anything that, yeah.
I'm excited by the littlest thing in Windows 11. At least to me, it's the littlest thing. It's the new sound scheme. I plugged a device in earlier, and I'm like, what was that noise? That was just a pleasant, unintrusive noise that identified to me that I plugged a device in, and I like the new startup sound. So it's the little things that I really like. And the new start menu. I've grown to enjoy it.
Yeah, I would say on my end, all the developer tools they're going to be adding and all the integration with sound, audio technology stuff, right? Because they're making working with audio a lot easier in Windows. And so both of those things, the terminal and the developer features and also the sound, is what really has me excited. And if they can get it working on Windows 365 without having to reset, that'd also be exciting.
Right. So yeah, for me, and Michael, I don't know if you know this, but if you switch it to dark mode, you actually get a slightly different sound scheme.
I did not know that. I'm going to have to play with that.
Yeah, I heard that from somebody at one point. Wow.
Has the iACast become Techopolis Live all of a sudden?
Apparently.
Techopolis Live plus Michael?
I didn't realize I broke you that much, Michael. That was not my intention.
Well, you're going to break Michael no matter what you do, I think, so.
All right, so I'm just going
Oh
to
my
stay
god,
out of chat.
I was
No, don't
so
stay out of chat.
I was so not expecting that. That was
I
yeah.
was. I knew that this could
Taylor
happen.
knew I was going to bring up food at some point.
Yeah, so I was just preparing for it.
So
And,
so since we're not screen sharing, Michael wrote in chat, "I'm hungry. I thought Mike was bringing a steak."
Oh.
And you know what? I actually like that because we sometimes we talk about some very serious stuff, and so it's nice to add some humor in there. That was so great. Oh boy. So And you know, that's the neat thing of our new format is there might actually be podcasts where we talk about food. And, you know, I feel for people who watch our podcast before they have breakfast or anything like that, because, you know, there might be times where we talk about, you know, cooking and accessible meal preparations and things like that. So that's going to be a thing. So it's kind of exciting. So that's basically, do you guys have anything else you think we should cover as far as our news? I think that's covered, you know, a lot of what's going on right now.
Yes. I believe
So,
that's all.
I guess the ad I want to talk about is something that I think is very important if you're trying to get into being having a presence on the internet. And Taylor can talk more about it, but I think it's a very important a very important thing to have today is everybody needs a website.
They do. Yep.
And you know, I did a Swift UI course twice, and Taylor is now doing a course on WordPress. So why don't you talk a little bit about that, and then tell people how they can get to the course.
Yeah, so this is a WordPress course. It will take you from the very beginning, so not even having a website or domain or hosting or any of that. And it's going to be a 10-week course. It's going to be starting October 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, 5 Mountain, 4 Pacific, and whatever other time zones folks may be in. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking you from not knowing anything about how to make a website to having your own personal or professional website that you can show off to either employers or that you can have as your own home on the internet. So we're going to be covering things like, you know, how to get started and how to, you know, make it visually appealing and how to make it accessible and kind of the technologies and the things that I like to use. And we're going to be using the WordPress CMS or content management system. It's going to be a group course, so there's going to be 5 to 8 students in there, and it's going to be 2 hours long each session, so starting for 10 weeks on October 5th. And if you're interested in learning more, we've got a group course launch announcement on YouTube on Taylor's Tech Talks. And as well as that, if you're interested in possibly enrolling, you can visit courses.tayloraccess.com to learn more and to enroll if you are interested. It is $300 for 10 weeks in the course, and that will cover all of the expenses and whatnot, and you'll get support, and there's going to be a Discord server and a mailing list and all sorts of things. So courses.tayloraccess.com, or you can visit Taylor's Tech Talks to learn more and to watch the full launch announcement.
Yep. And also, you may want to hurry up. There's already...
You do.
3 applicants, right?
There are already 3 students in the course. Yes, not applicants. We're not applying for jobs here. But there are 3 students that have already
they applied for the
taken
course,
spots.
so it still applies.
Yeah. So time is running out, folks.
Yep. So, yeah, check that out. It's a great course, and I think, Taylor, you plan to do more in the future. Is that right?
I do, yeah. I've already had requests to do more in different time periods of the year, so... Yep.
So, on to our main topic of this time. Apple had their announcement, their event this past week on Tuesday, and got a bunch of different device announcements. It was a pretty interesting. The event was interesting. The devices were not as interesting. We got new iPads, new watches, new phones, and we'll go through those. So, did they start with I think they started with the iPads, didn't they?
Yep.
So, we got 2 new iPads, the iPad and the iPad mini. And the mini totally took the show. But I will say, though, for education, I think that new regular iPad could be they compared it to Chromebooks. And I thought that was very interesting. They compared it to Chromebooks, saying it was more powerful than most Chromebooks. And that new iPad is like $399, and with a discount, or was it?
It's $329 for
$329.
general. The education discount is $299.
Right. That just sounds too cheap. That's a really good deal for a very high quality tablet. For general use, I would say meh, don't buy it. But for schools and work agencies and places, it's perfect. You know, that's the business, corporate, school, nonprofit iPad right there. But it doesn't do much more than what the previous version did, and it only has an A13. It does not have the A15 chip.
But it does have headphone jack.
Oh, it does. Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And so I'm sure there's a good audience of people that would love that.
Whereas the Mini, which we'll talk about in a minute, has dropped the headphone jack.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting how many devices are actually doing that, even on the Android side now.
Well, I think it's a trend.
Oh, it's very much a trend.
I know, because like when
Apple
one company does it, yep, they will follow.
When Apple does it, everybody else does it.
Yep.
So, then we got the iPad Mini, and that was one of the stars of the show. Michael, what was your initial thoughts on the iPad Mini? Was that, made you pay attention to the event?
So to be fully transparent, I am not an iPad person. My brain does not work around using an iPad with VoiceOver in it. It definitely can be done. It's just not my device of choice. But I will say that for an iPad Mini to have the sizes that this one does at the price that it is very intriguing. And the iPad Mini is closer to the size of a larger phone. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to walk around with an iPad Mini up to my face because that would look a little funky. But it does give you that screen real estate for if you need it. So for some users, I think the Mini will be perfect.
And Taylor, what about you? Don't you have an iPad Mini?
I do, yes. And I think, like I said, again, I use it for different things. I mean, not all that often, but I do have it as kind of a testing device. But, again, I think that it's very intriguing, and especially, it will definitely be cool to see kind of what it does, because it basically has all of Apple's latest technology in it.
For the most part, yes.
Yeah.
And, it does not have the LiDAR, doesn't have a lot of those things.
No, but I
does
wouldn't
have
use an iPad for LiDAR, would I? I mean, I don't know.
Believe it or not, sometimes the bigger screen, I wouldn't use it for LiDAR, but remember that the iPad was what LiDAR came out on first.
Right.
The iPad Pro was the first device to get LiDAR compared to the phone. So it's very interesting, what they're doing. Now, the Mini, the other thing that it doesn't have that's the latest and greatest, it doesn't have Thunderbolt. It requires an M1 to be able to have.
Right.
So it has USB-C. It has a USB-C port, so you could plug in a lot of those drives, hard drives and things like that, but no Thunderbolt for those high-quality displays or the Thunderbolt drives.
Yeah, good
There
point.
again, though, I don't think Android phones have that either.
No, I don't think so either.
It does, though, have a Touch ID sensor in the power button. And, Michael, I'm not sure if you knew this, and this is kind of weird. I don't know how I would feel about this. The volume buttons are on the top with the lock button.
That is different. I think that would be weird to get used to. My wife has a iPad Air that has Touch ID in the lock button, and I think that's a really cool implementation of it.
And it's interesting, they did not release an Air this time.
Nope.
So I think that will come next year, but I wonder if they're going to try to put the M1 in the Air. I kind of wonder if that's what they want to do.
Possibly.
But then what would be the benefit of the Pro at that point?
They'd come up with something different.
Yeah, I mean, there's still things that the Pro can do that the Air can't. Oh, and the other interesting thing on the Mini is it has Apple Pencil 2 support.
Yep.
which is why they had to move those volume buttons because they wouldn't fit with the Apple Pencil.
Ah, nice.
It does not have the smart keyboard, the smart connector, as they call it, though. And it does have stereo speakers while in landscape, and we've heard it may have 4 speakers as well.
Okay.
So you're getting very similar to an iPad Pro in a very cheap price. And
Yes,
so
you are.
I think that's worth, the purchase.
Sure is.
Now, the interesting thing is, too, on this, it only goes in 64 and 256 gig configurations, no 128.
That's strange. Very, very strange, because you'd think that a lot of people want the middle ground. They don't want, 256, maybe they want the 128, but they need more than 64.
Right. So, I don't know. It's interesting.
It is.
Then we moved on to the Apple Watch. And we got, of course, 2 models of that, the Series 7 and, the 2 sizes. They're going to be slightly different cases on them. So you'll be able to actually have a full typing keyboard experience, which is very interesting. And probably more battery. But interestingly, no new processor.
Nope.
So that is very interesting to me. I'm curious how the speaker is going to be and the microphones on this new watch. But apparently the screen's going to get brighter and all kinds of other things. But I'm very excited to get a new watch because I have the Series 5.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Taylor.
Oh, sorry. I don't even know what I was going to say now.
Oh, sorry. What has me intrigued by the watch itself is the being able to charge it to get 8 hours, and I think they said 8 minutes, the super fast charging. Going from 0 to 100% in 45 minutes is what they quoted. I thought the 6 already charged pretty fast, so that has me kind of intrigued. I don't think I'll be buying one myself because I do have the 6, unless one of the boys ends up with my 6 and I get a 7. We could possibly make that work.
Yep.
Just saying. They're all on iPhones. But what also surprised me, I think the most out of this entire event, is the fact that they're keeping the 3 around. I'm slightly frustrated with that fact because unfortunately it's going to be what a lot of people go to buy their kids for Christmas because it's an easy $200 product. And how much longer is that going to be supported with watchOS? And B, that is a substantially slow device, I imagine, because I've never used it, compared to the iPhone or the Apple Watch SE, which comes in at $79 more. So my thought was, why not drop the SE down to the price of the iPhone or the Apple Watch 3 and then keep the 6 around or something like that to meet that middle mark? But that is not the direction they went in, and I'm slightly disappointed.
There was a tweet that I saw. It was from the Apple parody account, Not Johnny Ive. And they said the year's 2077 and Apple's on the keynote stage announcing their new products. And they said, we're announcing the Apple Watch Series 67, which joins our new lineup of the, Apple Watch the Apple Watch 67, the Apple Watch 66, and the Apple Watch Series 3.
I love
so I got a good chuckle out of that because it's kind of true. How many years have they kept that watch in the lineup? It's been a long time.
It's time to say goodbye, Apple.
Right. I still remember I had the Apple Watch Series 0, as they call it now. I've had all the watches except for the Series 6.
My first Apple Watch was Valentine's Day. It was the Apple Watch 1, and Mallory bought it from me from Best Buy. And she spent a lot of money at Best Buy, and I didn't know what she was doing, and then she came home with it. And that was my first experience to Apple Watch. I've had that one. I've had the 3, the Nike edition, I think it was, of the 3, and then the 6.
My first Apple Watch, I was in a hotel room at a conference, and I don't know what happened. I think I ran into something the previous day. Total blind moment. But I was in the hotel room. I had my wrist upside down, just kind of tapping on the screen, just doing different things on my watch. And I have it always close to my face because, low vision. And all of a sudden, there's this thing laying on my forehead. And I just had this very puzzled look, like, what is going on? So I put my hand up there and felt it, and it was my Apple Watch's screen. It had fallen off the watch and was still connected by a bunch of wires. So I said,
Wow.
this is a problem. So I had to take it off. I tried to reattach the screen, and I thought it had done it, and it fell off again. So I'm like, you know what? This is going in my suitcase and right back to Apple once I get home. And they replaced it. It was not a problem, but it was just such a shock, right? Just, what happened? So that's my funny Apple Watch story. And then after that, we got, was it the phones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're in between there. I think it was actually before the watch. They did mention some Apple TV content too.
Yes, they did. And there's quite a few shows that I'm very interested in. The morning show, season 2, Foundation, and there looks like a few other shows that I haven't even heard of that I'm like, ooh, man, this is going to be cool. And I like that the audio described all of it, so that was really cool. And is there any content that Apple's coming out with that you're interested in, Michael or Taylor?
So the morning show season 2 I'm interested in. I should probably start listening to it. Another one that they released is releasing in the not too distant future is The Shrink Next Door. Now I've listened to a podcast about this, and I think it was Wondery that did it, and now I'm interested to see the Apple TV rendition of it. And then lastly, Calls. I really liked that show, and I'd like to see a season 2 of it.
Is it coming out with a season 2?
No, not that I'm aware of. I would like to see one, but I don't.
Oh man, Calls was
I'm
amazing.
jumping over to the Googles to look real quick.
Calls was creepy, but it had a great ending. I mean, I thought it was going to be, a terrible ending, but it ended so well, and it was creepy, but they wrapped that season up really well, and I just loved it. And yeah, if you haven't checked out Calls, check it out. So, yeah, we got Apple TV content, and then we got new phones, and we have new colors. I don't know how I feel about all these colors. Oh yeah, and the iPads and the watches have new colors as well, and they're not as they're more muted colors. In fact, their silver they're calling Starlight, which is like, what is that? And it's apparently like a different off shade of white with a hint of like a yellowish gold tint. So that's pretty interesting. And then they have, of course, like the purple and the what are they calling it? Midnight now, and a few other colors. It's hard to keep track of them all. Why can't we just say blue, purple,
I don't
white?
know, because they want to make it complicated.
Well, they want to make it sound fancy.
Well, that too.
So, but yeah, we have new phones. We have the 13 mini, the 13, 13 Pro, and 13 Pro Max. Sounds like last year's phones.
Huh.
Yep, and I was on mute, but I yawned because, yep, sounds a lot like last year's phones.
So it's sounds very much like last year's, and they have almost all the same specs. But one thing that I like is they have the Sierra Blue, which is a lighter shade of blue from last year, which is really nice. I like that on the Pro line. So for people like me, it'll make it easier to find it. They're all the same size, but they do have, each of them has longer battery, all the way up to the Pro Max, which has 2.5 hours longer battery life than last year's. I'm super excited about this, if you can't tell. And yes, I already have mine ordered. It's on the way. It'll be here on Friday, so super excited about that.
I have not ordered anything. I might order the Apple Watch, maybe. We'll see.
I will be getting the watch, but they're saying that's going to come out later this fall, which is kind of depressing that it's not coming out right now. I want it now.
Of course you do.
Instant gratification.
You want everything now, Michael.
Yes, I do. And I'm not afraid to admit it.
Yeah, no, you're not.
And so it's interesting, like, what we're going to see, like, as far as these phones, because, you know, they just have new cameras. They always put new cameras in there. But the thing that has me the most interested is the macro, ability to do macro photography. And if you're not aware, what that allows you to do is you could take pictures of insects, or get the patterns and cell structures on a leaf and things like that. That is what the Pro models are going to let you do. And I've always wanted, I mean, just think what that's going to do for low vision folks for magnification. That's going to be amazing. So I think that's why I'm truly excited about this new phone, is what it allows us to see, and what it will allow, you know, IRA agents and others to be able to see as well. You know, one of the things that I didn't mention is the iPads are all getting, you know, new camera features too, including center stage, which is going to allow for people to always stay in frame, even if you are moving off to a direction like, you know, like right now on YouTube, I'm almost out of my camera frame. You can only see one part of my head. And
your mic's hot too.
Yes, it is, because I'm right on it, because I'm trying to talk into it. But it's you know, the camera uses a wide angle, and so on these newer devices, it would pan out to actually be able to keep me in frame, which is amazing.
You have that on the iPad Pro, don't you?
Yes, that's already on iPad Pro, and it's coming to all of the new iPad models as well. And interestingly, that's the same technology they're using for cinematography mode on the new iPhones. You know, they talked about how they'll be able to do all these new shots and things like that with, and they did this video with that in the event. That's how it's going to work, is they're using the center stage technology on the back cameras for taking film roll. So it's pretty interesting, if you ask me.
I will not be buying new phones. I don't know if I said that. And I have an 11. Yeah, too many numbers. I have to remember which one I have. I have an 11. I probably won't be buying a new phone. It'll likely come next year. However, I will say on every other podcast that I say I'm not going to be buying a new phone, whether that be Android or iPhone, typically a week or two later, I end up with a new phone. So take that with a grain of salt.
Now, interestingly, are we looking at the end and the death of the S line, folks?
Probably. Because this is called the iPhone 13, not the 12S.
Right. And it's very much a 12S. I mean, let's be real. It's very much a 12S.
Yep.
You know, and there's no need to talk about radios and 5G. It has basically the same thing. I think some more 5G bands and stuff, but it's basically it's a 12S. Yeah. But I do think, though, that when you look at the Pro lineup, if you have to say iPhone 12S Pro Max, that's a mouthful.
Right.
And that may be why they did it, folks. I think that's why they did that.
One thing we haven't mentioned yet, wasn't announced, but it does come in conjunction with these new phones, is iOS 15 and some of the cool features that are coming out with that.
Right. Like we're getting new shortcuts, extensions, what are those called? Actions. We're getting new widgets
mode
on the home screen on iPad, focus mode, all those things. I kind of, you know what I would love? And I just was thinking about this week. Wouldn't it be cool if focus mode could be where if you, on the Mac, if you had that on, where you could have certain icons in your dock? Or is that a thing?
I don't know if that is a thing in macOS. Is focus mode a thing in Mojave? That's the new one, right?
Monterey.
See? I knew I'd do that.
Oh, we have the joke that we might as well call it Mojave.
Right, yeah. Yeah, but is focus mode a feature in there, do you know?
I believe so. I haven't messed with it, but I think it's a feature in there.
Because with
But I think
iOS
it's more
focus mode, you can control what home screens you see and hide or show home screens instead of default one. I think it'd be cool
Right.
if you could set up and I got this idea from Demasi, set up a shortcut dependent on the focus mode that you're in, so you can trigger a timer in Timery, so that way you can track time automatically based on your focus mode.
And I bet you could do that. I don't know if you
Right.
could or not, but
Yeah.
so there's some very cool features, and like you could have focus mode set if it's not business hours, where you wouldn't get business phone calls.
And I'm probably
I know
going to
that
do
would-
that because we all know how many calls I've gotten this week.
Or Slack messages. You can hide Slack completely, so you don't even see the little notification thing that says you have 15 unread Slack messages.
Right. So there's a lot of power with focus mode. So, there's new notification stuff. Things are displayed slightly differently in Notification Center. It's always weird whenever I pick up an older device and I'm like, this is running 14. I don't know how to use this anymore. 15's just better. But the other thing is, folks, keep in mind, you can change it back, but your address bar will be at the bottom on iOS 15. That will be a thing in Safari. So you can, Michael, can you tell folks how to change that back?
No.
You mentioned it the other day.
I think it's in the Safari settings, but let me...
Yeah,
let's-
it is in
let's do an
Safari
edit.
settings. But
Is it? Okay. Open Safari settings.
yeah, it is in Safari settings. It's in you go into the settings app, you go to Safari, and it's somewhere in there.
It is. I'm not seeing it in here.
Uh-oh.
Let me...
Did they take it out?
I don't know.
I'm going to look real quick. Hang on. Yeah, we'll edit this.
Yeah. Autofill favorites block.
I always forget, though, that it has Nope. No, it's there. Michael, it's very misleading.
Is it that landscape bar thing?
No. It's tabs. So under tabs, it's tab bar and single tab. Single tab is where the address bar is on top.
That makes zero
That's
sense.
that's not confusing at all.
No. Huh.
That's Oh.
All right, Michael. So since you can look at it, you go ahead and explain to people where it is. Maybe
Okay.
you count in and then be like and explain about that you can bring it back and where you go to do it.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. So we took a look, and the thing is that this is very misleading, and so basically, in iOS, you go to Settings, Safari, and then there's a heading that says tabs. I was about to say tags because of something else that I do for a living. And you have to change from tab bar to single tab. Now tell me if that makes any sense whatsoever. It actually shows a little picture of the bar at the bottom for tab bar, and then a picture of the bar at the top for single tab.
No, that makes no sense at all. No sense at all.
Yeah, so that's how that works, folks. So get ready. Trainers out there, good luck. May the force be with you and all that stuff, because you're going to need it. At least it's not the hover address bar that they had before.
Yeah, I don't miss that at all.
Yeah. This one makes a lot more sense, but still, just changing that setting is confusing. Nobody's going to find it. I wish they would have labeled that differently. Do they, Michael, when you find that setting, do you remember if they described the images at all?
Nope, they didn't, and so I just switched it over on my phone, and it's nice because you can use the forefinger flick left and right between settings in Safari and see the action taken, and it moves that address bar to the top. But yeah, there's no way for a blind person to note that without experimenting with it. Interesting.
That's bad.
Yeah.
That's bad. So
now we are in beta. Theoretically, they could change it. Very unlikely.
Well, we're in release candidate.
Oh, never mind.
Now, they have put out release candidate 2 before, but it's usually if there's like a critical
bug
thing. Yeah. So, yeah, this is what we're getting, folks.
Well, yep.
So, but, we're getting a lot of cool stuff. And I want to get y'all's takeaways on the event before we wrap up, because we're getting close to time. So, Michael, what was your takeaways? What did you think of the event?
So, my takeaways that I've told everyone that I've talked to about it was that I was very underwhelmed with the event. I don't know, however, what I wanted and what would have made me not underwhelmed. And I really liked the production value, and it's sad that the most exciting things for me is entertainment content and not new devices.
What about you, Taylor?
Yeah, I kind of agree. Like I said, it wasn't really all that exciting. Honestly, it was so not exciting that, let's see, what did I do during it? I set up a podcast. I set up, 2 podcasts, excuse me. I got Pinecast redirected, and I just did a whole bunch of other things, because honestly, it was so, it was just something to listen to. It was background noise. But it wasn't anything exciting.
Yep. And to me, it was, I'm all about the visuals. So that was pretty exciting, but at the same time, I feel like they've done more in the past. I really do. But, if you have a current phone, this is the time to wait for next year's model. If you need to buy one, buy one. Don't, I'm the rare exception where I try to keep up with the latest and greatest, but, it just, mileage will vary for all users, right?
Yep.
So, what are you going to do, Taylor? Are you going to buy a phone this year, or are you going to wait?
Yeah, I am. I sure am.
And it's not because you're really excited about, what's out this year. It's time to upgrade your phone, right?
Yep, time to upgrade.
Yep. Well, all right. That's going to do it for this episode of the iACast. And what we do now at the end of this is we want to get everybody's contact information, and we always ask for picks. So, Michael, do you have a pick for this week?
I do, and I'm going to use the one that I think you were going to use, so I'm apologizing ahead
Nope.
of time, Michael.
Nope.
Okay, good. So
Gonna
my
surprise
pick
you.
I'm excited. My pick today is the Pixel 5. We've talked a lot about iPhones today. We talked a lot about Apple, and I've recently come in contact with the Pixel 5, and I like the way it feels in my hand. TalkBack still has some room to go, but I really like the way it feels in my hand, and I'll be playing with it off and on.
Battery share is awesome.
Yes, it is.
I got it to work, by the way.
Good.
And it even makes a neat little sound whenever the device starts charging.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
And do you want my contact information too?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay. And you can find me producing content with iACast, which is an interesting thing to say right there. Also on Twitter at Payon, P-A-Y-O-W-N. I'm Payon everywhere else, even on YouTube now, finally. And then my website is yourownpay.com, where you can get some amazing podcast content in conjunction to the iACast.
All right. Taylor, what's your pick, and where can people find you online?
My pick is something that I did a live stream about earlier today. Whether that live stream was any good is up for debate, but Final Cut Pro. Final Cut Pro is awesome. It's a video editor, professional grade one made by Apple, so we're going back into the Apple ecosystem here. And it's really cool. I can do a lot of things. I can make my video sound awesome. I just edited a video for the first time that had a whole bunch of effects on it. So I had a bunch of sounds, and I had a bunch of sound effects, and it sounded honestly really awesome. So Final Cut Pro is really awesome. I did my first impression video on Taylor's Tech Talks. So if you're interested in that, Taylor's Tech Talks is where you'll want to go. And yeah, that was a really exciting thing. It's awesome. I'm looking forward to it, dealing with it more and editing more videos. In terms of where people can find me, obviously producing content for iAccessibility, you can find me on Taylor's Tech Talks on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter, Taylor_Ernst22, or Tay's Tech Talks if you want to follow Taylor's Tech Talks. You can find me also on Clubhouse as Taylor Ernst.
Okay. My pick this time is the surprise. I started reading a new book, and highly recommend this to anybody who loves science fiction, and it's called Project Hail Mary. And I'm only about 3 hours into the book, so it's a science fiction book. It's read by Ray Porter, who reads the Bobaverse books, which are also some of the most amazing books ever. And the author is Andy Weir, who wrote The Martian and Artemis. Also, both amazing books. So this one is, I actually think it's so far, it's one of the, it might even be the best book he's written. Which is big words, because those other books are great books as well. So, highly recommend. I'm not going to give anything away. You have to read it. It's just a great book. So, highly recommend it. You could find me producing content for iAccessibility. You can email me at Mike Doise. That's MikeDoise at iCloud.com. I have a bunch of emails. I'm going to give out that one this time because that's the easiest way to get a hold of me. I'm on Facebook. Just search for Michael Doise, Mike Doise on Twitter, and you could find me producing content for Techopolis at the Techopolis YouTube channel, techopolisos.com/YouTube. That's TECHOPOLISOS.com/YouTube. And all the links that we mentioned here are going to be in the show notes. So we'll have all the news coverage and everything in there as well. And so I'm there. You can find me there. And yeah, it's really exciting, what we've talked about today. So I want to thank Michael for being here with us and signing up to be on more of these things and to even possibly host sometime. So I'm really excited about that. I want to thank everybody that's been in chat, Jason and Logic Pro X Gaming. Thank you guys for being here. It's really awesome to have y'all. And with you guys have and Michael, who's on the podcast, who had to put in the great comical messages. It was great. That kind of stuff breaks up the monotony of the show. So it's really awesome, having you guys, talk and chat and things like that. So I want to say thank you all to everybody that's been here, and we will be back in 2 weeks for another episode of the iACast. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye, everyone.
See you next time.